Hey friends, DM Scotty here. Now I'm just finishing up Hoard of the Dragon Queen, and I thought it'd be fun to talk about it and do kind of a review and my commentary and maybe some modifications that I did with it. Because, I'm sure like most GMs, you don't just run it cover to back, right? You change it a lot. You want to change it to fit your group. You want to, make it relevant for your players and that kind of thing. So you're not going to run. I like modules to start. I really do. To give me starting ideas, but I never run a module straight up. I always change it. So, I think if you go in it with that view, then you can really make this thing shine, okay? Because it has a lot of really cool ideas and some exciting action. Now, the last thing my player said to me was, well, this really kind of feels like Game of Thrones. And it kind of does a little bit. I mean, it's not similar in story-wise, but it has a lot of characters. There's a world kind of spanning dynamic to it. And it's very interesting. It's an intricate plot, and it's very interesting. And so we've had a lot of fun with it, and that's why I take that as a compliment. But I thought I'd talk about some things about the module. Now, I know it got a little maligned because, it got a lot of flack. I think one reason was because the books weren't out, and so some of the rules are wrong. That doesn't bother me as long as you know the rules. The rules in 5e are really easy. As long as you know the rules, you're not gonna have a problem with this. Some of the CRs of the monsters were off, and people were complaining about that. There's a dragon at the beginning, which I really like that. Players got to realize they can't just beat everything. They need to make choices. What makes the game interesting are the player choices. And usually the moral choices that they make it really interesting. And I always try to center on that. And the dragons are a nice kind of thing that they can cause fear in the players, because most starting adventures, there's some goblins and a few other little minor things. They beat them up and they take their treasure and it's over. They really don't have to worry about something that could kill them with one blow, And I kind of actually like that about this adventure. Another thing I think I would suggest with what I did was there's a printout online where you can give each character like a different background to have a connection to the adventure, and I did that, and I found that really helped, and they could work it into their backstory and that kind of thing, and that really gave them all a reason to be at this small little greenish town. Not that they just all show up, and this is happening. So I really like that. It gives them this thing that gets them all there. And in my campaign, it kind of became why did they get all together? Was it destiny? Was it fate? Was it the gods manipulating? Why are they all together? And they become this group, and they're kind of this ragtag group that kind of has to stay together, because early I made sure they found out that this is a world-ending event. Like, the world is going to be drastically changed for the worse for them, of course. And, that's a big impetus to stay together and try to solve this problem. Also, I did have something I don't usually do. I had a few characters wanting to be evil, and I actually allowed that. And I thought it'd be interesting dynamic in the group. And, it depends how your players play evil. When I think of evil, one of the characters was an assassin, and obviously he doesn't want everybody to know that he's an assassin. So he's not just going to go around doing stupid evil things just because he's evil. You know what I'm saying? He's going to want to hide it. So, and the other character was lawful evil, so she was more, she was a dragonborn, so she was more like, okay, she's evil, but she's like, she has the law thing going, like the law. If the law tells you that that's how it should be, or the law of the strong and that kind of thing, then you should follow that. So I actually allowed that, and it's made the game pretty interesting actually, and it hasn't been a problem. If you think that's gonna be a problem in your group, I wouldn't allow it. A lot of people don't, but I did for this game, and it's really, really worked actually, and made some interesting moral choices in this game. And even though some of the characters are evil and some are not, they've all had to band together to help each other, and they have a certain trust. Even if they don't have the same worldview, they have a certain trust of each other. Maybe it's a trust where they're going to keep one of their eyes on you, but they're gonna help each other. Okay. So what happened is, when my characters kind of get what happened. So my characters came into town. They had this background. They all had these different goals and views and things they got into this adventure. So they see the town's under attack. This giant blue dragon's flying over, causing damage. They come into town and they rescue some people. And what I did is I took the kobolds out because kobolds tend to be kind of comic relief, or at least in my games. And I didn't want that kind of feeling in this first adventure. I wanted it to be like a dire situation and not funny, not a lot of funny stuff going on. So I took the kobolds out and just replaced it with mercenaries, just regular mercenaries, because the cult has hired mercenaries to help them sack this town, right? It's not all their troops, it's a lot of mercenaries, human mercenaries actually. And they're relatively easy to defeat. They're not much harder than a kobold to defeat, so it's easy to work that. So anyways, they get in the town, they rescue somebody, they get to the castle, and almost immediately, they kind of find what's going on, but almost immediately the blue dragon attacks, okay, and it's flying over the castle. Now they notice that the dragon seems to be not too enthusiastic about attacking the town. The dragon's not like, a full gusto. It's more kind of a weapon of terror, because the dragon doesn't want to destroy all the riches in the town, right? They're just trying to, it's just a terror weapon is essentially what it is. And the dragon is kind of half-heartedly doing it because I decided that the cult took its eggs, okay? And they're blackmailing it, essentially. And so it's doing a kind of a half-assed job at what it's supposed to be doing. So it comes down to attack the castle. It shoots at the castle. It's a blue dragon. It's a large blue dragon. Shoots at the castle. Chunks of the castle are flying. Guards go flying in the air. One guard's up there with a ballista. Screaming at the player characters. Help me. Come on, help me load this and shoot it. And one of the characters runs over, and she's helping. Aim the ballista, and the guards cranking it back and everything, and she's like, the dragon's diving in, I'm like, so do you want to shoot it? I guess I had this really evil DM look on my face, and she decides that she wanted to hold off, and she was actually a dragon scholar, which is cool, but I have another character who could speak dragon and was kind of asked the dragon, why are you attacking? And the dragon then starts to kind of hover up by the castle and tells her that what happened, my eggs were stolen, and if you agree to, recover these eggs, I will, I'll fly off. I won't attack her. I won't kill you, basically. And so they make the deal. They make the deal with the dragon to get the eggs. Now that's much more interesting than trying to kill the dragon, which they really can't do anyway. Their first level. It's much more interesting than trying to kill the dragon. Okay. So that was a lot of fun. And another encounter I had is they go in the sewer pipe out of the, which is in the book, out of the castle, but there's hordes of rats in the sewer, right? The fire, fires and all the commotion in the town has driven the rats into the sewer. So they're basically single filing it through the sewer, and these rats start to cover them, and they're biting and they're just crazed and all this stuff. And this encounter was scary for them because they were still first level. And it's basically a pack of rats, and they're being clawed and gored. And so, they had to figure out how to do this because they couldn't effectively fight because they're in single file in this small tunnel, and they couldn't, it was hard for them to get around each other, and it's a carpet of rats, and how do you fight that? They end up using some fire stuff, and a couple of the characters have resistance to fire and all that, so that helped. But yeah, that was a really scary encounter for them, which didn't seem like it would be. But when they realized the danger of this, that they were trapped in this environment, that was really scary. And that was actually a really fun encounter. And so they get to the end of the drain pipe, and there's a couple of cultists, or actually there were mercenaries just talking, there's a stream that it goes out into, and they're just talking on the edge, and they end up picking them off with some arrows and spells. But we kind of ended the first session there, right, for Greenest. It was kind of a shorter session. I usually run longer sessions, but it was kind of a shorter session. So that was a lot of fun, and it really like the dragon. So they had an interesting thing that they were doing. They were supposed to help this dragon, and it helped to get rid of the dragon actually. And once they leave the castle, they had a couple of other interesting encounters that are in the book. One is at a mill where they're trying to save the town's food. It was just a ploy. The cult was trying to get them to come out and then ambush them. There was like an ambush set up. We had a lot of fun with that. And then the other really cool encounter is there's this temple. There's this temple in the town. It's kind of on the other side of town, and some people have barred themselves into this. And the players decide they're going to help these people get out. Well, there's there's like 20 guys circling this temple, yelling and throwing stuff at the windows and this kind of thing. And then there's a group in front, like trying to bash down the door with a battering ram, okay? So the players decide they're going to kind of split up. A couple of them are going to draw the ones as they go around the temple, draw them off into the woods and lead them on a wild goose chase. And the others are going to try to pass themselves off as dragon cultists because they got these medallion necklaces. So one of them tries to give a password, screws it up. They get attacked, and it's a dangerous combat because it's not. They had actually leveled up since the first adventure, so they were level 2, so that was good. But it was very dangerous because there were a lot of guys. I had like a magic user cultist and that kind of thing. So it was a pitched battle. The players were definitely taking their hard knocks. Some of them were going down, that kind of thing. So eventually the priest from the temple actually unbars the door, runs out and helps to heal because, they had pretty much dealt with. He said, I'll come out if you can take care of, these guys, and I'll help you heal and, I'll help you recover and this kind of thing. So they're racing, against hoping that they can, take these guys down fast enough that they can help their other people. And so they do, they get the priest up and he helps the others. So it was a very exciting combat, very dangerous combat. So they run in the church, and then the other players are kind of stuck. They're like, well, we got these people chasing us around, but what are we going to do with them now, right? So the dragon telepathically communicates with this other evil character in the group, and she's a dragonborn monk. And the dragon says, I will take care of these cultists if you meet me at the edge of the glade. So she draws them out by the temple. The dragon, rips them to shreds and then lands and is speaking with her and says, you will be my thrall, well, they make the deal first, So the player has the total choice of making this deal. Like the dragon didn't make her make the deal. She could make the dragon said, I will take care of these cultists and these mercenaries if you become my thrall, right? So she kind of decided I better do it. So now she's thralled to this dragon, right? She has to do what this dragon says. So what great role-playing opportunities for that, right? That's so awesome. And then I had the thief, who was also drawing the characters come off. She comes back but sees the other character talking to this dragon. So she knows that these two had a conversation, or that they were interacting. The dragon was telepathy, so she didn't hear. But she kind of knew that they had some kind of dealings, right? So the thief in the group knows this. So I've got stuff going on where it's really interesting. There's characters doing certain things other characters don't know. But what I do in my games is I let everybody at the table see what's going on. They just can't act on information they don't know, right? And they're all really good about that, and they know how to work. So the dragon takes off, after it rends the cultist to shreds and makes the deal. It flies off. So they come in the temple. And the priest in the temple's thanking the party and, offers to give each of them a blessing. So they have a font and the characters are coming up and get a blessing, which basically was kind of like an inspiration, and actually an extra inspiration. It was like a blessing from the goddess. So they got that. Well, the warlock, who's evil, and the monk, who are evil, go up to get the blessing from this good goddess, of course, and then they start like sweating profusely and like foaming at the mouth, and they fall down and they're like having a seizure, and the other characters are like, oh crap, and then they realize kind of what the evil characters realize what they did, and they weren't even thinking about it. And then the people in the church want to lynch them because because they're evil, right? They think they're evil. The goddess has shown us that these are spies, or they're evil. They got their pitchforks. They're ready to lynch these people. So the characters got to deal with this. And there's also a couple other cultists that came back to check on what was going on. So they're outside the church, seeing this. they actually, are firing in with arrows. The party's trying to get them, but they have a lot of cover because they're outside. They're outside. The party runs out, to try to get them, and they take off. But before they do, one of the cultists comes to the front of the church and says something about the warlock being in league with them, right? And runs off, which he really wasn't, but he was just trying to cause problems. So then, the party has to settle him down. The priest does like some charisma stuff and gets the people in the temple settled down, the priest of the party and that stuff. So it was a lot of fun. In Greenest, we had a lot of fun at Greenest. And like I said, I did make a few changes to that with the dragon eggs, and that gave the dragon some more interest instead of just this giant beastie flying around, and kind of thing. That's just this power that they just couldn't kill. It was just this thing they couldn't kill, but they kind of made a deal with it. And then one of the players actually became the thrall of the dragon, which is just great role-playing stuff for later. And then one of the characters saw, which that's more great role-playing stuff for later. The characters in the church who were frothing, so and rolling around on the floor, so the other characters know that they're evil. So there's just all this going on, just all this stew of just fun, on top of just having kick-ass fights, in Greenest, and just barely pulling it out by the skin of your teeth fights. So we just had a blast, and I just want to say that the module is as fun as you want to make it. So in the next video, they go there's a camp that the Dragon Cult has set up south that they're kind of taking the treasure to and then moving it out. So we'll talk about that next video. But I hope you enjoyed this kind of review of the Hoard of the Dragon Queen. Don't be afraid of it. You can have a lot of fun with it. I hope you enjoyed some of the pictures I showed from it. So there you go, and I'll talk to you next time.